Nerd On the Podcast is proudly partnered with Apogee Electronics and Odyssey Headphones, leaders in the field of audio.
That is, Caitlin, that is such a stretch.
That was such a stretch.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Nerd On the Podcast you didn't need, but you deserve. And if it's your first time, welcome, because all levels of nerd are welcome today and tomorrow and every day afterwards.
Yeah.
But this is more specific. We're talking about some holiday stuff. We're kicking off the holiday season.
Yes.
And sometimes that brings you the festive flavors of pumpkin spice, right, Ollie? Shut up.
Hell yeah.
And then cider, right, Caitlin? I'm kidding.
Yeah, delicious.
No, I'm kidding. No, we're going to start this off in a nice way, but
I
sometimes
like pumpkin seeds.
yeah, you just
Those are
sometimes you want to go out and go fishing with your best bud
You want
at your you just purchased dilapidated vacation cabin. But today we're kicking off the Halloween season with our favorite hillbillies with hearts in Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, also
Shout out to
it's
Boom.
it's a slight listener request from our one the only Boom.
Shout
who
out to the
requested
night.
this, like
Shout out to
at
the
least
night.
10 years ago. So you put those requests in, we get to
A
them,
while
baby.
ago.
Let's not get too far into it. Let's introduce the host. My name is Tom.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Ollie.
I'm Corey.
And I am Josh, and this episode is, as always, brought to you in part by the members of the Nerd On Nation that is powered by Patreon.
Patreon.
As a member of the Nerd On Nation, you do get fun perks, like you get early access to these episodes, you get bonus episodes that nobody else hears but you.
That's
you
right.
get early access to merch, you get discounts on merch, you get all sorts of fun behind
There's
the
a
scenes
lot of community participatory things you can be
Yes,
involved in.
you
Maybe
get
we'll
to,
get into that later.
stuff. Corey will cover later. You get to participate in the Guess That Grump poll. You get all sorts of fun stuff. You get secret channels on our Discord. But yeah, check
Secret
that out.
views on DVD.
So
You don't.
So check it out, nerdon.tv/Patreon, and check out that Discord, nerdon.tv/Discord. And a big shout out to our partners, Apogee and Odyssey. Apogee are the makers of this wonderful mic in front of all of us, the Hype Mic, the ultimate podcasting microphone. I can't suggest it enough for if you're wanting to get out there, create content, even just if you're running Zoom calls for work or like doing
Comes
like
with
TikToks
a
that
lightning
are-
cable, y'all.
Yeah.
You
Like
plug it into your
TikToks
iPads
that
or mobiles.
are
And then you
potentially
can punch
banned.
it in the middle of your pitch.
Everyone
Yeah,
is like,
tripod.
it's so good, it's so good, it's so good. It's good.
It's good. And then huge shout out to Odyssey headphones. We have the LCD ones. They're an open back headphone, which makes it so all of the sound
Super
isn't
comf.
just like at your ears. You kind of get an open feeling.
What do we
where
say,
you-
Josh?
If your ears were mouths, they taste like butter. So
That's right.
we mean
You
that
also have a
they're
movie
tasty.
franchise on your hands.
Oh, God.
They're yum yum. So check them out, Apogee and Odyssey. And that is the housekeeping. Let us go into the woods. And shall we make a pact? A pact?
A suicide pact.
No, not that one.
No.
I was like, I have a
No.
6.
Let's just go. Just go fishing. Have a good old time.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Tom.
Yes. So this is fun because this is one of the film, a first movie episode for this holiday season, and what we do here traditionally at Nerd On is that when we get a complete piece of work,
Ooh.
at the end of the episode, we're going to
Ooh.
rate it from 0 to 5. So that brings us to our first segment, which is
Guess That
Grump.
Grump.
Waiting in the woods.
But they ain't
gonna
Deck the halls with boughs of blood.
Just mind their own business. And all these kids just started killing themselves.
I'm half hillbilly. I'm sorry. So, if you're brand spanking new to Nerd On, welcome.
And also, sorry, that was probably a little confusing, but hi.
No, it's not. It's Get With
we
Programs
decided a
2020.
long time ago that we wouldn't make a theme song for that. So it just is
Yeah.
a new thing.
I think I
every
just
time we
started
do it.
yelling things and everyone would just go okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Just like real life. If you're brand spanking new, so what we're going to do is go around our digital screens, and if you'd be able to see our digital screens on YouTube, which you should, we're going to go and guess who is going to have the lowest score. And again, it's from 0 to 5. And no matter how high the number is, the lowest in the group becomes the grump for the week. And since that never changes and it's always scripted, I will let Josh go first.
Okay. My guess is Caitlin.
Ha!
Wow.
Wrong.
Wow.
But that's all right.
Ah!
That
Caitlin,
was like
who
an
you got?
explosion out of my face.
Don't spoil it.
Yeah.
I didn't spoil anything. I could
Let him-
still be
Let
like,
him
point-
feel the realization
Yeah.
of the.
It could be all
Right.
fives and then a 4.9, and she'd still be the grump.
yeah.
Writhe in his pain.
Caitlin, who you got?
I'm gonna
Who's
say
your money
Corey.
Wow.
Mm.
You know what?
Okay.
Actually, not bad. Actually.
Tom, Ali,
Ollie, go ahead.
No, Josh already guessed.
I'm gonna go with Josh.
Ooh.
Okay.
Ooh.
I think. I don't
All right.
think. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Ali.
No one
Now
wanted
we're
to
just
pick me
in
after that
standoff. We're
explosion
just
of a
in standoff
reaction.
right now.
I too am picking Ali.
Okay.
Fair.
But
I like how Ollie was like, I don't have an
Quiet
answer
about
for
it.
that.
See on the Scantron, baby.
but if you are part of our Nerd On Nation, then what, Corey?
You get to take part in our Guess That Grump Nerd On Nation poll, and if you get it correct, you get a shout out on the show.
You're that guess
and
that
the
grumper
nerd-
gator guesser.
You get you get to be that guesser, grumper, guesser. And the Nerd On Nation has spoken.
Grass-fed.
Oh God, too many words
in
I
a
can't hear.
landslide. The Nerd On Nation has spoken in a landslide. And Caitlin, you are their Guess That Grumper guesser guess.
Yeah.
Grass-fed gator.
So it is what it is.
All right.
So, Tom, you will be giving your rating first, followed by me and Josh, and then Caitlin and Ollie can battle it out.
All right, baby. It's not Biodome. Or
Thunderdome.
Wow.
Why Biodome?
I don't know, man.
not
It's all
Biodome.
Also a fun movie. Biodome is not fun.
But now that brings us to our complete spoiler of that, everybody. So we're gonna go and do our initial reactions and our first impressions of the film. And I'll go first this time. Shout out,
I'm
Josh.
surprised.
Okay.
Mark the calendars.
I know, right? So when I first watched this film, I think I was too young. Even though it's not old.
I was gonna say it's only 10 years old.
It's only like 10 years old. It came out in 2010, but like I think I watched it like it was early. I was in college, and I think it was at the time where I was kind of just like seeing so many scary movie films at the time. So it was like Scary Movie 17, at that point.
Mhm.
And I was just like, when the Marlon brothers went away, I was just like, well, now it's not a thing. Wayne brothers, my bad. The Wayne brothers
I was gonna be
pieced
like,
out of the Marlon Wayans, and when the Wayne brothers pieced out of the franchise, I was like, now everyone's just trying to do their own parody thing. And so when I watched this, I think it was like one of those like nights with friends, and we're like, oh, let's just put it on, and it was there, and it kind of like was just that fun movie to have in the background, but it wasn't really appreciated, so it was definitely slept on. But now rewatching it, and after seeing so many quote unquote satirical horror films, I felt this one did it better than all of them, because it doesn't pretend to be very intelligent, and I really appreciate it. Where like there are some films that like think they're a lot smarter than they actually are, and I've actually had a lot of conversations with that actually recently in the last few months with a friend of mine, and him and I have like diametrically really kind of opposing, but we kind of like want just good films to come out, and he'll say films that I like are pretentious, and I'll say films that he likes are like think they're smarter than they actually are.
Pretentious.
No, pretentious is kind of like finger wagging, finger waving, and just like trying to say like you're dumb, but then other films are like, hey, we're smart, aren't we? Didn't we break the wheel? It's like, no, you didn't.
So anyway, you watched this movie.
So watching this movie, it's really enjoyable, and I think on the offset, it sets out what it tries to do so well, that it's very hard for me to be like, oh well, it's not like a big budget movie, and it doesn't have these Oscar baited performances, but it's just like, no, they want to do this, and they did it, and it's done. And like I was like, okay, they're there. And so I really, really enjoy it. And I now would put it on like one of the top of my list of like Halloween films or just horror films to watch.
Yeah.
Nice.
Who's next?
I will. I'll go next. Let's see. I didn't watch it right when it came out, but I want to say it was probably, I didn't watch it till about 2015. So 5 years after its release, I guess. Maybe right before that. I rented it on the old Apple TV. And I did so because my wife and I are big fans of Alan Tudyk, but also Tyler Levine from Reaper. Shout out to anyone who watched that show, because I sure did. CW show, actually. And so I was like, oh, this looks great. So we rented it, and I was not disappointed. I am always one for when not quite like Scary Movie status, maybe the first one, but I like Final Girls and stuff like that, where it's a much more grounded satirical take than kind of off the wall comedies on these horror type genres. So when I figured out what was going on in the film, I was like, oh, this is exactly what I wanted it to be. And I'm so happy I got to watch it, because it actually sat on a shelf, I learned, for 3 years. So it was completed in 2007.
Wow.
But it didn't come out until 2010. So you can see kind of the elements of the mid 2000s style with some of the guys in the film, especially the lead douche. And it just, it brought me back to like, that was the time I was going out and seeing horror films, was like high school. So it was perfect for me. I think this is a fantastic film. I think the performances from Alan and Tyler are just, we'll talk in specifics, but there's just some moments where they play on tropes so well, but you're seeing it from the other side of the coin. And I think that's such a brilliant way of shooting it, to make it, very subtle point that this is not, you're seeing the other side of things this time around. So yeah, love it.
One thing, Ollie, you'll appreciate, one of the first versions of the film, for temp music, they used the Dark Knight soundtrack because he loved it so much. And somewhere on the internet, it leaked, and it's out there.
Oh, really?
Really?
It doesn't have complete CGI and all that kind of stuff. But also, I guess on the DVD, I've never watched the DVD, but there's a version of the film that is from the high schoolers, or I mean, from the college kids' point of view. It's only like 20 minutes, but it's that's out there. I'll go next because I got in here.
Because you are.
Because I'm talking. I hadn't seen this movie until getting prepared for this episode.
Oh wow!
And to really be clear, it wasn't on purpose. It wasn't like I didn't know really what to expect, except that I knew that it was a comedy horror movie, and I like those kinds of movies. They crack me up. I dig it, because horror for me, it's one of those things that I'm not completely like dead opposed to it. It's just that there's so many tropes and all that kind of stuff. And this really, it's like, hey, you remember that trope? We're going to spin this, and this is how we're going to use it for laughs. And so I didn't even know what to expect from the movie. I hadn't even seen a trailer. I've just heard good things about it. I've only ever heard glowing reviews. And so yeah, I watched it for this episode, and I love this movie. This movie for me is to slashers what Shaun of the Dead is to zombie movies. Like
So it scares Caitlin.
Love this kind of humor. I love the chemistry of all of the main cast, but also like watching the college students do their thing.
The body fodder.
Yeah, it's just like I love the diverting of expectations of like
Subverting.
Subverting. Thank you. Like their idea was the writers talking about like, what if we made a horror movie, but it's from, what if the hillbillies are the good guys? Because you see always it's the people in the hills have eyes type of thing, where there's the family in the woods that is out to cannibalize. And
what if it was all just a misunderstanding?
Yeah. And I was just laughing the entire time of all these circumstances that were happening, of just like,
that you're like, oh, I could see it, but
and then it makes me think of the movies that I have seen.
No spoilers.
Yeah.
That you're like, What if
But
it was
that's
a
why he was
misunderstanding?
This is what I always say. I always say that in things. I was like, but what if they were just minding their business?
Yeah.
All the time. I always like, but what if then we're the bad guys? And they're
What
like,
if-
no. And I'm like,
100%.
What if there's more to the story? So this is a jaunty romp through that, and I
glad you
love
liked it,
this
man.
movie back to front.
Yeah. Kaylin?
Next.
Spoiler. I had a good time. I liked the movie.
Oh.
I mean, aside from the murder and all the kids dying and everything, it was a good
Well,
time.
spoilers. Jesus.
There's blood.
I mean, I didn't say what kids. You know.
There's nothing you didn't see in the trailer.
Yeah.
That you just said, but yeah.
I mean, also, this movie's 10 years old. So
Yeah, I was like,
spoilers,
Yeah.
whatever.
statute of limitations. here.
Again, my thing about that, it's like, I do the 72 hours. After
Also,
that,
it's like
you
it's a
chose it.
horror movie. It's categorized as comedy horror, so like somebody gonna die. Like,
I do appreciate the subtle nods to certain things we'll get into.
Oh yeah,
That give you the
yeah.
idea that things are going to,
Yeah, but I absolutely love the whole premise of misunderstandings, like and someone who looks intimidating, and then when you actually get to know them, like they're like a big teddy bear. I feel like that's so many of
Reality.
my friends.
You don't like pancakes. I'll make some else.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking. I didn't even ask if you like pancakes. Like,
spoilers!
like, what if
That's,
Leatherface
I know,
that's
I
in the
know, I
trailer,
know.
Tom. That's in the
But
trailer.
still, like, but I feel like so many of my friends, like, I remember, just of like a parallel is I went to some event and there was this guy named Tiny who was like 6'8"
Of course, yeah.
and like
jumbo
300 or
shrimp type
400
name.
pounds.
Got it.
Like, yeah. And I walked
Little
up and I
John.
was like, thank you so much for like taking care of everyone and being the bouncer at the door. And like, I know that's probably really hard. And like, he had the sunglasses on, was all serious. And all of a sudden he pulled them up and was like, well, thank you so much, sweetie. That's so kind of you. And I'm like, oh, and I gave him a hug and I was like, you're so nice. But like, you know, if you don't talk to the intimidating looking person, you have no idea what kind of a person they are. He could have been like, F off, I hate you, blah. But he didn't.
just like that too?
To be fair, he did try to talk to them.
Yeah.
It's
Ollie?
true. And even then,
What if?
I
you
can't
like
get
the
into
movie?
stuff or I'm going to start spoiling intricacies.
We'll get into it.
What if Leatherface was a sweetheart?
Yeah.
Just
Maybe.
I mean, he wasn't,
I
but-
think not. But,
Yeah.
you know, what if he was?
Ollie?
Ollie.
As you might gather from me not knowing what Leatherface is, I'm not a big horror person.
He didn't put on sunscreen. His face
But
got leathery.
this wasn't what I expected. I was kind of, without spoiling much, I was kind of waiting for something else to happen. But and then I realized like the whole like subversion thing was happening. So to clarify, I didn't see this when it came out. I actually didn't even know this movie existed until we were getting ready for this episode.
Oh.
So it was, I really enjoyed it. It had a lot of like hidden humor that I really enjoyed. Tucker and Dale were absolutely hilarious. And I really did like you touched on it. Like it doesn't treat the audience dumb because like it's really easy to do that in something like this.
Oh, yeah.
And it's very much kind of like, no,
Looking at
this
you,
is
Scary
the
Movie
joke.
5.
Now let's watch the hilarity ensue kind of thing. So, you know, if there were to be like a horror genre movie that I could comprehend and watch and enjoy and have fun with, this would be it, because it has, I would say it references just enough of that and makes light of the parts that I find hilarious and
Yeah.
those things. So like I was able to identify it to something like this more than like a scary movie. Because like scary movie, I was like, not even that funny to me.
It's so much
and-
more referential instead of just the
it was so
convention
specific.
of.
This was more kind of just like a, you know, remove the horror element of it, and you could still have a really interesting character dynamic and progression.
I think
in series
I
of
mean,
events.
with you, Ali, specifically, I think we as a group, I can't remember if it was on an episode or if we were just like sitting around shooting the shit, but I think you were talking about the things that you didn't like specifically about horror.
Yeah.
And I feel like this
Yeah.
touched on all those like little things
It
that you
did.
were like the
But
tropes.
I will say, it isn't without that element still. So to me, at the end of the day, it's still not a genre that I enjoy watching.
Interesting.
In this or subgenre that I would say.
This is why I picked
just
Ali.
just to
the
clarify.
slasher motif, like to me at this point, nothing about it is interesting, not the main thing and not subverting it. Like to me, so I'm just kind of like checked out of
So
slashers.
to clarify,
So that's the part where
I'm just like for my own mind. So you experience more so the slasher aspect of it than
Then the
the comedy side of it.
no, I experienced both. I wish the second part wasn't there, but
He's just saying in his
I really-
impressions that it still.
I
has
enjoyed. I
with
think it was
Yeah.
expertly executed. I think the characters were really hilarious. I loved watching the moment to moment like realizations between the characters. It was just those horror gore aspects of it, and like watching ultimately like Final Destination style is kind of what came to my mind. And like you're at the end of the day, unfortunately, it boils down to you're watching people die. And
Well, the
that
main kid
isn't
is from Final Destination.
well, there you go. And I was like,
guy.
at the end of the day, when you boil it down, like I don't enjoy watching that happen. So to me, it's not going to be something that I ever seek out or am interested in, or
That's fair.
you know, will never have that like 100% enjoyment out of.
Got
Yeah.
it.
But
Just once a
but
month.
I really enjoyed this. I love Alan
1 month
Tudyk,
out of
Tucker
the
and
year,
Dale.
you'll have to watch something.
I was
for
like, you
our
hear that,
episode.
Nerd on Nation?
If Tucker and Dale go on some other crazy wacky adventures, I'm there. Like
They
you know what
meet
I
up
mean?
with
Like I'm
Ernest.
100% sold on that
On them.
package, on them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the plot of this, what it happened to end up being, wasn't what I
Right.
enjoyed.
Caitlin?
Something I forgot to bring up was the first time I saw this was for today, but I knew about this movie years ago. And the
Mhm.
only reason I knew about it,
Maybe less than 10, though, but yeah.
yeah, maybe probably less than 10, but like I was confused
Just
because
exactly 10.
people I know in Georgia were cosplaying Tucker and Dale and carrying around half a body.
Nice.
Oh,
And I was like, why are they doing that? Like,
Spoilers!
why not the no. But like, why would you want to cosplay someone from a horror movie? Like,
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
really like you know. they
Ask all the
just-
people who dress as Jason or Michael Myers or
I was
Freddy.
going to say,
Well,
I would
like, I
love to
get-
cosplay as Freddy
how do
Freddy
I
Krueger.
phrase this? It's more of like, I get that like the scary movie, like those classic slasher
classics.
people are like so
Ingrained
iconic and
in
like, yeah, they want
culture.
to be the deranged person, but they were just like so sweet. And when they were cosplaying, because they're notoriously always in character when they do cosplay.
So they were just playing.
and they were just really sweet. And I was like, what is happening? Why is
Yeah.
this coming from a horror movie?
Now
like,
you
shouldn't
know.
you guys
The
be
more you get
murderous
the
killers?
the more you know.
Yeah, and that's like the whole point of the movie. Yeah. Anyway,
Does that
So-
move us into production?
Yes. Brief synopsis and then
Then
production.
production. Gotcha.
Give it
cool.
away. Put it
give
out
it
there,
away,
Josh.
put it out.
It is-
Throw
it
it up,
is-
toss
Give
it
it
away.
to
give it
me.
away, give it away now.
Now.
It is brief. Two scruffy pals, Tyler Labine, Alan Tudyk, backwoods vacation. Wow, not a great sentence. Two scruffy pals, backwoods vacation takes a bloody turn. Oh, I got it. Got it.
This is
Two scruffy pals, backwoods vacation takes a bloody turn when ignorant college students mistake them for a pair of murderous hillbillies.
Yep.
And that's it.
All right. Production.
Give it away.
Distributed
Give it to
by-
me.
Distributed by Magnet Releasing / Magnolia Pictures, responsible for the movies Ong Bak, Melancholia, and Mother. Directors is Eli Craig. He did Tao Pong, Zombieland, the TV movie, and Little Evil. Producers Morgan Jurgensen, Glass Desert, and Fastlane. I love saying that name. Morgan, if you're listening, it's a fantastic name.
Congrats.
Albert Klychak, only responsible for producing one movie, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil.
Wow.
Partly responsible.
Writers, Roseanne Milliken did Annie-O, The New Addams Family, Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2, classic. Deepak Nayar, who did When the Lights Went Out, Paranoia, and Vampire Academy. Writers, Eli Craig, who is also the director, if you remember, Tao of Pong, Little Evil, Morgan Jurgensen, Glass Desert, Fastlane. Cast, Tyler Labine as Dale, did Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Reaper, shout out, and Voltron Legendary Defender, which I found out today.
Which y'all should be watching.
It's really good.
It's done, but y'all should watch it.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Also, if you're needing something to just kind of binge, because I think there's only 2 seasons of it, Reaper is a lot of fun. Alan Tudyk played Tucker, Dodgeball, A Knight's Tale, yes, and the Harley Quinn TV series.
As Joker.
Yeah.
Alan Tudyk is everywhere.
he's everything right now.
He's
And he's Clayface, I think.
and he's amazing in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a lot of DC characters right now.
Also starring Katrina Bowden, I think we decided on. Bowden. Piranha 3DD, Sex Drive, and 30 Rock. Jesse Moss, The Uninvited. Final Destination 3, there it is, reboot TV series. And Shelon Simmons, who did John Tucker Must Die, Good Luck Chuck, and Kyle XY. The release date was January 22nd, 2010. Runtime of 89 million.
89 million minutes. We're still watching
It's
it.
still going on right
89
now,
minutes.
guys. It's still going on.
Budget was $5 million. Gross $5.7 million. Rotten Tomato score 85 critic, 84 audience.
So now they're going to bring us to our favorite parts, favorite characters, and qualms, and then we'll finally rate it. So I'm going to go first real quick. I got to say, my favorite part is Chainsaw Hornet's Nest. It's so good. It's so good just because when Mr. Two Dicks is running and
The reactions.
he is looking at the kid who's spying at him, and then but the thing is, he catches up to the kid. And so to me,
Yeah.
it's like the kid should be like, he didn't
Just
kill
stop
me.
running.
And then so
He is.
he's looking
He's
at him.
confused too.
Yeah, then they're looking, he's like, why is he running? And then Ellen Dude's like, why is he running? You know, and again, there's no dialogue, there's no monologue and all that stuff. It's just this. Finally, the moment has caught up to.
And then remember, the
us.
single B is how the kid understands
kid,
right
yeah.
before he
But
dies.
yeah,
He's like,
I always worry about that of running into something, not knowing I'm going to impale myself. Not like
You
Is
always
that your
worry
like
about that?
number one fear?
Well, that's why when you run, you look straight. You don't look behind you and all that stuff.
It's my
And I'll say
second
this: I
fear
learned this
next
the
to
hard
gators.
way because in high school, I remember I was late to school, and this is senior year. And by the time this had happened, you're senior, you're late to school. Typically, the only other kids you see around walking, if they're not late, are like the hot people who don't care about classes anymore. And so I remember I was talking to someone, and I think they were hot. And then I was like, all right, bye. And I walked right into a pole so hard. Like I walked
Oh.
in and then I turned my head and it hit the pole so hard. It wasn't like a pole. It was like the support beam to the overhangs.
Oh,
And I
Oh.
walked in so hard. The left side of my face was literally swelling up.
Tom just
and-
confirmed that I wasn't a hot person because I always cared about classes.
Yep.
I never
Facts.
walked around late.
Big
did
facts.
too.
No printer.
on that note, I will say that the Final Destination movies ruined me. Like like
Oh,
when
yeah,
I'm
you get
driving, when I'm
terrified of
driving
everything.
and I'm behind
And he's in the
something,
logs.
logs or any sort of like things that are
I get out
stacked. I'm
behind
like
logs.
changing lanes.
But also,
Wow.
real life has ruined me. I'm on Reddit, and you see all the time posts where like, pole fell off this truck and almost impaled me, and it misses him by like an inch. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Humans are to err is
Fragile.
to human,
Squishy.
and to err with metal poles on a freeway. No thanks.
Yeah, we're glass cannons.
I just
Um,
have high anxiety, so I never saw the Final Destination movies, but I thought everything
It
was gonna
ruined
kill me.
garbage disposals for me.
Yeah.
So anyway,
100% the garbage.
Um,
Anyway, so yeah. The
favorite
hornet's
parts-
nest with a chainsaw.
one of my favorite parts is after the kid dives into the wood chipper, and Tucker's reaction is just to go, "You okay? You okay?"
No, it's after he tries to pull him out.
Yeah, and it's been
Like,
it goes on
it's
for like a
been
full
a
30
while.
seconds. It sprays
the-
the blood
that's
on the
the
girl. You okay?
Only- that's the only 30 seconds of this movie I have not seen.
Oh,
What?
close your eyes.
I saw it coming a mile away and skipped.
Oh no, it doesn't
okay.
show anything ever.
I don't
It
care.
just shows it from his side of view. Anyway,
That's
that's my
fair.
favorite part, Ollie. Thank you very much.
I mean, part of that
It was
I'll add-
hilarious after like it picked up like
You okay?
while like around when he was like freaking out and then going back inside.
yeah.
So that it was
Um,
still I caught the humor of it, but
to add to that, I love the reaction from the girls who are watching this carnage happen.
Yeah.
Because I love and this is like pulling away, right? It's a $5 million independent film. It's more expensive than any film that I've worked on or that I've
That's not true.
Made. That
Yeah,
I've
there you
made.
go.
There we
I've
go.
worked on a lot of expensive films. But it's just like you just see the gallon of blood just being shot into
Oh,
the
yeah.
girl's face. And it's like it's not even like a spray. It's just like, all right, shoot the cannon. It's just like
Yeah.
all focused on her. I'm
We
like,
have one shot
wow.
to do this
Yeah,
in.
and it's like
That's all we have the budget for.
it's so good. And
Uh,
oh, man.
That and then my second favorite. I actually have two. One is the throwaway line of, "Is that chamomile? I can't have that. It fucks with my asthma." That
Well,
the guy said.
It's
But
I
on the
feel
other
it's not
side when
so
she's like, I
throwaway
could
because
really go
you've
for
been
it.
seeing him puff.
Yeah, but the delivery of it is just
delivery of it,
amazing.
yeah.
It's this super
Oh, yeah.
intimidating scene, and he's like trying to be intimidating. He goes, "Fucks
it's
with my
dual
asthma."
purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the ending where they high five, and Tucker like is trying to
Oh,
be
his
nice to
fingers.
Dale because he's like, that hurt very much. He's like trying to be nice still because he just talked Dale up, and to call him an idiot in that moment would just crush him. So he's like, that hurt very much, and then just smiles. He's like, no, you fucking idiot. Those moments stood out to me both times that I watched it. So
Josh, Caitlin.
that's it
Ollie?
for me.
I'm with the tea scene. I also love the girl on the
the
outside of the window. Like,
therapist.
I could really go for a cup of tea right now.
They're trapped.
No.
um,
And the funny
love
thing
a-
is, they could have walked in and asked for tea.
yeah. Oops. I really like a couple of the beginning scenes, the gas station scene. Like, you're a good looking man, more or less, and like the awkward laugh, and then when everybody's leaving, he's like, "That's a good looking cooler."
Oh,
Just a
with the
random,
whole
like-
scythe and the just
Yeah.
smile and laugh. It exudes
yeah.
confidence. He's like, I was like, oh.
So you're seeing the crazy hillbilly from the other
Exactly.
side is that he's just trying to be nice and like
No, yeah.
use
Doesn't know
sociable
how to do
tactics.
it.
I
I
rewound.
like the beginning a lot.
I rewound that and then rewatched it multiple times. Just be like, how did the scythe get into picture? How did this
I was
come
like-
to this point? Like,
I was
why?
like, too real. This is too real.
I love that he also ended up buying the pickled eggs because he like had grabbed it in
6-pounder.
an effort to not be looking at Allison.
Yeah.
But then he was like, I can't undo the awkward thing that I've done by grabbing this
Commit.
giant thing
Commit.
of pickled eggs. So I guess I'm buying 6 pounds of pickled eggs now.
and he
Which
starts
legit-
pounding them back.
I was
Oh,
just
yeah.
like, man, that looks kind of delicious. I wouldn't be.
It
I wouldn't
did.
be mad.
It did.
I wouldn't be mad.
My next, I love when they come up to the cabin and they're like, "Oh my god, it's perfect."
Yeah.
And then he's like,
Mansion.
"What they call it, a upper?" And he's
Fixer-upper,
just and
It's a
They
mansion.
get inside. It's just a little dusty in here.
it's a mansion. And I
Yeah.
actually, when watching it, I was like, I'd really actually kind of like that. I could fix that up. I could.
I think the
do
previous
that.
owners must have been an archaeologist. Yeah, archaeologist.
Oh
Caitlin, Ollie.
man.
I have more,
I
but
also
that's-
loved
to get it
We'll
started.
go around. We'll go around.
I also really
I did mine.
loved the sheriff.
Oh,
like
God.
when they come across him and like
The shirt's off.
you, well, that was just like funny. And while I was
Nothing but
watching
pure
it,
evil up there.
shout out to Nick who I was watching this with because I know I was talking to it through all of it because I was going no, get up. And then once the sheriff was like, "There's nothing but pain and suffering up there," and I was like,
Mhm.
"Why do you know that?" And then later on they explain it, so it was like, so good.
Ollie.
Anyway, I pulled you over for tail light. That is very helpful of you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Very helpful. One of my favorite scenes is the pancakes. Just like eating it with pancakes and her screaming. And it
I
must
feel
be
like that
and
would
then
be
him-
you, Ollie. That would be.
And then he
Yeah,
goes back
okay.
in. Please don't tell me you don't like
And then
eggs
go
and
and
bacon.
make bacon and eggs. Yeah.
Go
Um,
ahead.
and then my other favorite was just like was doozy of a day. He's
Yeah.
like,
I was
both-
just about to say that.
both when he first came in and just saying like these kids are killing each other because like in his mind that's all that's been happening. From his view that's all that's been happening, and like him kind of like try to reconcile that and make sense of it is
If you
just hilarious
think
to
about
watch.
it, though,
and then
from his
later
Go ahead.
when he has to say it to the cop,
Yeah, he goes, "What are we supposed to say? Howdy ho, officer. I had a doozy of a day. There we were minding our own business when these doing chores in the house when all these kids started killing themselves all over our property." And then he literally says that word for word to the cop.
If you think about it, of like just the rationale, if people just around you started killing themselves around you, you'd be like, what is happening?
Is it me?
why? It's that like that has to suck.
Are your
if you
friends
think about
off, and then they like immediately go to suicide pact.
it. You're like,
Yeah.
oh
And
my
like-
god. But
Oh,
I
then
mean,
when
what else would you think if there was
Yeah.
like
I would think
no
the
other
happening's happening. I would think Mark
information?
Wahlberg was ahead of the curve. Was like, no.
Mark Wahlberg pissed off a tree somewhere.
when Dale starts telling the cop that they have one inside and she's unconscious in his bedroom, and Tucker's like, "Come."
The word choices.
He grabs him. He
Dale.
just grabs him.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I think it's hilarious. I think it's amazing that she's a psych professor that's focusing in communications.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I mean, I think that really, I loved how that played out. And then how, like,
Yeah.
we get to that moment where they're sitting at the table, and I was like, yo, like, this is absent from horror films, right? Like, this never happens. And
Yeah.
so,
She's like knocked out for the whole movie.
And then
It's
she's
just-
like, "I'm a terrible psychiatrist." No, I
Don't
thought
say
you were
it.
great.
don't say
Yeah,
that.
don't say that. Or she's
but
like, I don't
then-
know, it was a dream. Dreams aren't stupid. I
Well,
was like,
and so I mean, that's the thing. Like, it took a
My
brand
heart.
new thing, which you think would happen. Like, it's always the thing that, like, you know, the fact that one of the characters is like, if you just call the police, and then the douchey frat boy is like, why you keep bringing this phone up? And it's like, these are the things that happen in horror films that are inexplicably explained. And you're like, why don't they just talk it out? Why don't they just call the cops? And then you see like how the characters just destroy all that, and it's like that's exactly what happens in horror films.
oh man, them standing on the boat going, "We have your friend."
and then on the log,
Oh yeah, leaving it in that like stereotypical like horror font
Murder
that's like
font.
just looks
Yeah.
like, but
have
it's
to
like
etch it in.
in that kids is why
But we
you
have
always
your
leave a
friend.
note.
But it also makes sense of like why it looked the way it did and why he didn't put more words is because it took forever to etch that into a log.
Yeah, he even
with a
says,
knife.
I gotta carve this whole thing.
Yeah.
No, and
Yeah.
I love that what the kids hear when they're spying on him. It's like, yeah, I just keep beating the crap out of her. It's
Yeah.
like, don't worry, I'll finish her. I'll finish her off.
finish
with
He's
her
your
talking about the
back.
board game.
And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god! I was like, of course this would happen. Yeah, those are the parts I really enjoy, and there is a little bit of like kind of comfort that I would say that, you know, even though the film works at a very natural, it feels almost effortless pace to subvert expectations of the horror film, it still kind of falls into the end where it's like, this is the part with the final girl and we fight the thing and we save the thing and we do that thing. And I was like, okay, it's still
It's like literally looking at a formula from a bird's eye view. This whole movie is like following the formula,
yeah,
watching someone else write a formula out. And you're like, oh, that's an interesting. formula.
it's
You
very
got that.
double edged. Where like other films that will try to be like, we're just taking the blah blah blah, and then it's like, okay, so you're gonna do the form, you're gonna subvert the formula to not have a formula at all. Where this one's like, we're gonna subvert the formula, but it's still gonna have like the 3-act structure, and it's still gonna have the end of a horror film. Which like I really appreciate horror films when they stick to like their conventions in a way. I think a lot of us, we say tropes because it's just not well done. But when they're really well done, like, you know, you could say every hero's journey is a trope. You know,
Yeah.
like,
Right.
but we like to watch it. We like to say, oh, I guess they're just gonna
Right,
win
right,
at the end. It's like,
Yeah.
well, no, that's the convention. You want a story where
It's
the
kind of
heroes win
like
at the end.
that show don't tell, or like when a trope is, it's not like you're saying the hero's journey. It's it's throughout entertainment of how it's used, and if you don't notice it, it's just like with good sound or good
Well,
visuals. If you don't
It
notice
seems
it,
effortless.
I
then
mean,
it's-
I would even like expand even more of like, even if you do notice it, you can notice when it's done well and when it's done poorly. And like that's the difference between archetypes and stereotypes, between you know, contrivance and convention.
Right.
So it's like if you work with the conventions, then and it feels like it works really well, then it's not contrived. But when it feels like you're just writing
Right.
your plot so that it has to happen that way, then it feels contrived. So I think this film does that really well, where it's like, you know, this is filmed in 2010, or this movie came out in 2010. It was probably filmed like in 2006.
Yeah.
And
Because it was supposed to release in 2007 and
and-
got shelved.
yeah, it was an
Whoa.
independent
For 3
film. Like, and this is the director's first,
Which is
film.
why everyone's wearing the mid 2000s style.
Yeah,
like
I
his-
mean, even
But it's timeless for those kind of movies.
well, I was thinking about it too. I was like, even then, like if that film, like let's say it was shot now with like a budget that's equivalent to 5 million, then like the clothing still to me feels fine.
Yeah.
Like there is nothing
Mhm.
like about it that's like, oh, like maybe they would have had an iPhone instead of a flip phone, but that wouldn't have changed either way because you still would have had douchebag just break the phone anyways. So
Mhm.
like there's a lot of it that stays timeless because it just works upon what our reference points of like what horror thing is. Like again, that's why like I love the chainsaw and the hornet's nest thing, because it just reminds me of Leatherface, right? It's just like running around like a fucking crazy maniac. And like even with
chainsaw.
Dale comes in with like, you want to see a murderous hillbilly? I'll show you a murderous hillbilly. And he dresses up and it's like, that's what a murderous hillbilly dresses up like. You know, but he
Yeah.
immediately
Was it
takes it off.
intimidating? Yeah.
And then he immediately takes it
Sweet.
off, puts a hat back on, and then he's like,
Yeah.
all right.
but
so it's
real
that-
talk, the hornet's nest thing, terrifying to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I am terrified of bees, like bees and spiders.
Bees
It's not
are
that
fine.
get off of me
Hornets are
thing.
bad.
It's the I'm gonna die dance. Like I need to run away.
Yeah.
Like so I was like, oh no, oh no.
Yeah, we have a hornet's nest outside of our garage right now, so that's horrifying.
No, thank you.
That was a little real for me because they
no, sir.
like my roommates just told me about the hornet's nest, and then I watched this and I was like, oh no, that's gonna happen to me.
Any other favorite parts? We're gonna go into favorite characters.
I mean, a ton. Her
I
getting the
have some fun
helmet
facts I can share.
Oh
was
yeah,
amazing.
quick.
The bowling alley.
Before we get to facts, I love that Alan Tudyk used beer for all of his wounds.
yes. I was gonna say
So
pour the beer on
he
his
improvised
face.
that. That was his
Oh,
idea.
really? Okay.
Mhm. He was supposed to come in and drink a beer, and he came up with the idea of what if Tucker uses beer to pour it on his face, and then that evolved into pouring it on his hands later.
Oh,
And then the other fun fact I was going to say is that when Dale is talking about licking toads, Tyler Labine had to do that, I believe, on an episode of, I forget what it was, maybe Law and Order or something like
Licking a
that.
toad?
Yeah, because people will do that to get high.
Right.
Like, there's certain ones.
because they secrete like,
So he just pulled,
Chemical.
he ad-libbed that from his mind.
oh
I-
my god.
Used to make me feel funny. But it's also a precious scene where he's like, you always caught more than me. No, don't say that. It's true.
No, it's funny. Also, that comes as like
You're
I don't
faster
even
than I
like
was.
fishing. He's like, you don't like fishing?
Oh,
yeah.
that moment in between them being shot at by
Yeah.
crazy college
Wait a
guy,
minute.
like of just like that hurt my feelings.
Also,
Yeah.
I will say real quick before we get into favorite characters and stuff like that. I really actually do like the Dale and Tucker. You know, like Tucker being like, man, you gotta, you gotta have confidence. You beat yourself up all the time, and it's like,
I don't want to
Yeah.
hear any more negativity from you.
yeah, and I
Okay.
was like, there's that sense of, in the end, like even though like all this stuff is happening, Tucker still kind of like tells him what to do, and it's that level of like, well, when I can't, and it's not like he has to beat Dale doesn't have to beat Tucker, like has to prove his superiority or anything like that. It's like when Tucker isn't there, Dale, can you do it? But then it's that Tucker turns into the nurturing,
Yeah.
vibe, and
Oh,
like,
and
helps him out.
his finger at the end.
This
Oh, yeah.
from the
Yeah,
From the girl.
He's like, I don't remember it looking like this, and it's like,
It looks great.
it
looks
looks
fine.
great. Looks
looks
fine.
great.
Man, I feel like I was talking a lot the other day about like the relationship between Tucker and Dale, because Tucker is 100% like the mean older brother who isn't like, you can tell he really loves Dale a lot, but he's mean to him. But also that's just like they just
But
grew
also,
up
Dale does some
together.
dumb shit.
Yeah, I was
Dale
gonna say
does
that was
some
my favorite
stuff,
thing.
like-
He was like, you gotta fight for yourself. Don't you think about it. What did I tell you? You gotta fight for myself. No, I said don't think about it. That's the last.
That was the last thing I said. Talking about the beer.
I was like, oh my god,
Yes.
I've probably done this so many times.
Yeah.
Yes,
I can attest
Kaylin.
to that.
I am.
The last thing I want to say is, I don't know if you caught this line, but when he brings in the PBR, he puts a
straw.
Dana pointed this out to me. Puts a straw in it and he goes, your favorite sipping utensil. And I was just like,
Why do you know that?
yeah, what's the other one?
one?
What's the other sipping utensil?
Maybe like a Slim Jim?
Or I think of
No,
just a
what?
baby
Slim
nipple.
Jims are solid too, by the way.
Yeah, but you can drill a hole through them and turn them into a straw.
I think it's
No.
the bottle nipple. It's like the little baby
That is,
bottle nipple.
Kaylin, that is such a stretch.
That was such a stretch.
No, I've
No,
Oh,
potatoes
I
are
know.
Straw. Like
Yeah,
he
but
is
I
the
mean,
bendy
to
straw.
the general populace, there is no other. That's why it's funny. There's
yeah,
no
well,
other
you
sipping
guys just
utensil.
haven't experimented enough in your life. So
I would say I would
I'm
have said
sorry
red
for ya.
vines,
Yeah,
but you went straight to Slim Jim, which is
Well,
feel like that would
it's
be the
because
favorite.
that would be the thing.
red vines
Y'all-
are already hollow. and you drink soda
Kaylin
through
has
it.
that patience. Of
Anyway.
letting a Slim Jim absorb.
Favorite
Let me
character.
just say that like a lot of
How long
of
does it
the
take?
even though it's very hillbilly, like redneck hillbilly. I grew up in southern Indiana, so like a lot
How
of the
thick are
things that
Slim
were
Jims over
happening
there.
we have.
Well, they're
so
very
many Slim
porous,
Jims.
actually, so you could use
Yeah,
like
I was
a
like,
straw.
are they hollow there?
No, you
No,
have to
but
drill
like
'em.
you also like don't. There's like nothing to do nearby. Like it took 30 minutes to get to the closest bookstore, so like.
So you
there
have all
was
day to
just
try to
nothing to do.
suck
So you have
soda
all
through a-
day to experiment
through a
with
Slim
whatever
Jim.
you do have around you. And like that's why like a lot of the stuff they were talking about of just like seeing this cabin and thinking it's a mansion is like this perfect vacation home. I'm like, yeah,
Also-
it's like, you know.
Also, this is like it could be done for with LA. It takes
I love
30
that
minutes to get
it's-
anywhere. Houses are really
Right,
expensive, so
right,
you get a
right.
piece of shit.
But-
You're like, oh my god.
But there's also like a million different shops like close to you. Like
Yeah.
where I grew up, you ran out of things to do when you were like past 5 because everything was for children, and then you have nothing like nothing to do until you're 21, so you can go to the bars, and there's only like 2 or 3 of them, maybe in the town.
Nice.
I do
So,
love
like-
that. Speaking of the cabin, it is 100% the Evil Dead cabin.
Oh yeah.
That's what I was thinking. But
Yeah.
I think Tyler Labine said that in an interview with like Watch Mojo. He's like, "Oh, that's just the Evil Dead cabin."
I'm sure that it's cheaper to use that than to build their own homage sets. They were like,
Well,
yeah.
also it's all shot in Canada, so everything's cheaper. So
Yeah.
because Canada has better credits.
Anyway, favorite characters?
Dale. Dale's
Let's
could it not
do
be Dale?
favorite of the main, and then a minor character,
Okay.
including
Dale
Frat
for
Boy,
you.
Dale. For
And then
me.
who's your minor character?
supporting cast.
Maybe the blonde girl her reaction is to like smoke a cigarette in a stressful circumstance and then
Yeah.
throw
I was gonna, you know what's so
moonshine
funny?
on fire.
I was gonna say, I was like, and this is why Josh decided not to smoke anymore. And I was like,
Um,
makes
Yeah,
a lot
when
of
she
sense.
tosses the moonshine.
Never know
on
when
that was-
someone
don't
threw
use that.
moonshine on you.
I knew I should have
Oh.
moved that. All of the
Yeah.
explosive material.
The
all the
stack
gas
of
cans.
cans. Yeah.
I should have moved that.
Yeah, I mean Dale for me. I mean, just anytime like he's when I'm seeing him thinking about like what Tucker's telling him, I'm like, no, I get that. I get his logic in his brain of like,
He's just
Yeah.
a sweetheart. Like when he's picking up all the trash and she was like, "Do you have anything to do around here?" He's like, "I got board games." Great. And he just throws it all back down on the floor to go grab the board game as quick as he could. Okay, I got my favorite game.
Because he likes her and he's never gotten any attention from her.
No, I just love his idea of like the whole scene is him picking up trash and clothes off the floor and he's holding it. And then she says she wants to play a game and he just tosses it back on the floor.
I don't know
Kills
why,
me.
but I really thought that the board game that he was going to talk about was going to be a Ouija board, and that's what brought the evil or something. And then when it
Nope.
was just trivia, I was like,
And he remembers everything he's
and
ever
that
heard.
he has a trivia brain. Yeah.
"Yep."
well, I mean,
Um,
like to that note, like what I was saying about first impressions, like I hadn't seen a trailer, and so I really did think that it was them against like a Jason
Evil.
character or even like
Natural
I thought
force.
there was
Ouija
gonna
board
be a
thing, but
twist.
it was the fucking kids.
That is the twist.
yeah.
I
Well,
thought
I
they
mean,
were going to be
tech-
zombies and they would have to work together. Is
Yeah.
what
I
I,
don't-
thought.
that is like the horror trope is when you find out you are connected to somehow the murderer, and then there's this predestination of like you will become that thing. They've done it
Mhm.
with Michael Myers, they do it with Jason. So there is that sense of like, oh, I guess that does play into that part, which is evil because that
Man,
is evil.
yeah.
I knew who the killer was going to be. Like
Aren't you
the
cool?
ultimate villain after they showed that initial scene.
Who needs an
you know what?
inhaler?
I think.
Well,
and-
it was his like, cause
That guy played it 100%. I loved him.
oh yeah, no, he was great. But
I mean-
I remember I was like, oh yeah, I knew it was going to be him from the beginning. And Nick was like, what are you talking about? I was like, his cheeks.
Wow.
he has a
I could tell.
punchable face.
His cheeks, no, it was his cheeks and his nose. The way that they're shaped, it was the same shape as the guy in the very beginning. So I was like, oh,
Oh.
it's
I
him.
mean, also just shout out to him just because he played it, and that is that weird sense of like in when it is the kids versus a killer. Like there is that one leaderish character who's like a little too
And he-
excited to like
about it.
fight.
But like
Oh,
when you're
killer.
watching it from their standpoint, you're like, yeah, dude, get everyone ready, get everyone
Yeah,
to go.
he's
But
just
then you're
getting
watching
people
it from the other
pumped,
side
that's
and
it.
you're like, this guy's a dick.
Well, he's a psycho.
Yeah.
Who other
Right,
hillbilly.
side character. I feel like I can't decide between the sheriff and weed whacker face girl. I feel like it's the sheriff
Okay.
because
So
he-
who's your first? I'm sorry,
Dale.
Dale. Okay.
oh Dale. Oh yeah.
Dale and then sheriff.
Yeah, Dale and Sheriff. I'm really torn between him and Weed Whacker Face. But I think I like the like story. Well, I don't remember what her name was. And that's terrible, but Weed Whacker Face is what
I don't
I'm gonna
remember
call
anyone
her.
except the main three, so there's
That's
that.
fair. But the sheriff of like this like underlying narrative that like
Well, he
The
actually
last-
listens to them.
he actually listens and like he also like dealt with this horrific thing 20 years ago and is like trying to warn anyone going even remotely near there that like there's a history there and like I just and seeing him in the newspaper later, I had this like brain blast of like, oh my God, that's why
Jimmy
he said
Neutron?
that earlier. Ah, but yeah, I just really liked the sheriff.
So sheriff is sheriff, and then the weed whacker face is Naomi.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
Corey.
Naomi was trying to be
Oh.
so logical the whole time, and everyone's
She
like,
was?
"No, you're stupid."
She was trying to use the phone the entire time.
Yeah, she was a reasonable one. That's why I liked her.
Tucker, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love Dale, but Tucker, every time. I mean, here's the thing: when it's Dale and Allison, those are like some of the sweetest scenes in this movie. But every time Tucker is on screen with Dale, I can't stop watching Alan Tudyk and his moments of like pouring the beer on the face, pouring the beer on the fingers, or giving this speech about, letting him
Or that
Catch
he
all
has
the toads.
the high fiving with missing fingers
he has
and like
bites all over his face, and then like his mouth is now swollen, so he has to talk to us.
yeah. Well, he always has like chew in too, and then like when he's asking Dale to be gentle when pulling the stingers out, it's just like kills me. Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna, because I watched a featurette about the making of this, and what I love that what they did is casting was really, really important to them, because if the chemistry is not there, this movie fails. Like it has to be like the main three, like they held them, like their chemistry is great when they're on, whether it is a Dale and Allison or whether it's a Tucker and Dale, like they bring something to it that is just it solidifies it to not be a dumb movie.
And I want to say this, Alan Tudyk, if you haven't seen the original Death at a Funeral, the English version, go watch that. But I have never seen anyone play the emotion frustrated as well as Alan Tudyk can play frustrated. He shows it in this movie where, Dale's talking to the cop about the things he shouldn't say. He plays it really well in Knight's Tale. I don't know if everyone's seen that. Frustrated and angry. He has this way of, when he's playing the either frustrated or angry, this way of stuttering his emotion and having one of his eyes kind of go like off
Oh yeah.
that I can't explain. And it just adds to this amazing
One eye goes
depth
dead.
of like, you feel like, wow, he's really feeling frustrated.
dying
And it's
inside.
just such a
Really
wonderful
angry?
thing to see. And Pirate Steve and Dodgeball, like it's all fantastic. Again, if you haven't seen Death at a Funeral, Death at a Funeral, the English version,
It's so good.
steals the fucking show.
Who's your
Anyway, so
minor
Tucker
or
is my
supporting?
favorite, and then side is Allison. The fact that she gets them to sit down, it was almost the murderer, because his commitment is just spot on.
Chad.
It needed to be for this movie. It needed to be the like, I'm
Yeah.
committing as if I'm watching this whole thing from the other side. I'm not going to play into the fact that this is a comedy. But Allison being able to like set up a meeting and then like defending herself from Stockholm syndrome and like, all that. I think she's a wonderfully written character for Dale. I think that they're so sweet together. I just love the scenes, the two of them,
Yeah,
where they think she's digging her own grave and like she's really just trying to help out. Anyway, Tucker and Allison.
Mine's Tucker too. For those same reasons, he's just hilarious and everything. All of his executions and his little asides and all that stuff. And Allison's actually also my second character pick, because I think she's the only one I really remember much
Copy
about,
paste.
anyways. So yeah,
and
and I remember and I recognize her from 30 Rock, which she's hilarious in.
Yeah.
And my main thing was like, sex drive.
Suri.
For me, I love sex drive.
Sorry.
But for me, it's Tucker. It's just because I think it's what Caitlin said. It's like he's loving, but he's also really mean.
Dale? Oh,
No,
Tucker.
Tucker.
Oh, gotcha.
Because
Yeah.
it's what Caitlin said earlier about the
Gotcha.
Tucker character.
Yeah, I
Is
follow
that,
now.
yeah, he is. What she said, or I'm kind of, but it's
Which we
he's
saw
mean
together.
but lovable. I just really liked that portrayal of the character, especially like the thing is you can't get one or the other without the other. Like there's the heart
Yeah.
and then there's the brains. There's the George and then there's the Letty.
It's
So,
a tough love. He's got a tough love for Dale.
yeah. And to Josh's point, actually, you're talking about the chemistry. Tyler Labine said in an interview, like first thing when Eli gave him the script was he walked it over with his wife to be like, hey, if we're gonna do this, we got to be very careful how we do like the parody and how do we do the satire, because it goes really off. You don't do the joke right, or there's a little bit off with the relationships, and it just becomes like not good parody.
Not
Yeah.
watchable.
And then my
Scary Movie 5.
my supporting character is this is like a terrible reason, but this is my favorite supporting character. It's the character who it's Jason, and Jason is the one black guy in the film, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that he
Yeah.
doesn't
Why
die
didn't
first.
you duck?
But also, second thing is because he's in Power Rangers SPD, and I was like, it's him. That was my reasoning. I was just like, it's the Red Ranger, and then
Aw,
like
you little nerd.
Doesn't he get the "that's fucked up" line?
probably
He does.
I think that the
I
main
recall
killer
that.
guy says some shit. And he's like, "That's fucked up."
Well, there's a lot of bad things that happen. Where he's like, that was almost my face.
Yeah,
Like when he throws.
that's
the
my
axe.
whole face.
Yeah,
what
that's
he
my
said.
whole face.
That's my
But
whole
he
face.
does that stuff where he has like a lot of logic behind him too, and I'm just like, but I
Yeah.
was just like glad, one, like again, a black dude doesn't die first, and then two, I was just like, oh my god, I have never seen you in anything other than Power Rangers.
Yeah,
And so I'm like,
and Tucker and Dale
love.
never kill anybody, even in the
No.
end.
no,
Nope.
no. I
he hurts his leg and he feels bad about it, but
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
he's also trying to murder Allison.
Yeah.
So
murr people, but
Murr.
yeah, those are my my peoples. Now we go into qualms. Who wants to go first?
I'll go
I,
first.
I do. Oh,
Caitlin,
Oh,
Caitlin, go first.
Rochambeau.
wait,
Rochambeau.
I'm already there.
Rochambeau.
alphabetical,
It's not even really a qualm, but it is
Or
a
don't.
qualm
I don't
because
care.
it drove me crazy.
stalling.
Allison's pants.
Oh, when they
Being rolled
folded
over?
out, yeah.
I hate it. I
Well,
hated it so
it was-
much that it distracted me.
The thing is, I feel like that's a huge wardrobe decision too, because like also her
It
butt
is.
has a
It was-
heart
it
in it
was
too.
very.
And- Yeah, and it was fun because like one, it's like she could take ugly drab Dale clothes and make it look quote unquote sexy for the times, or even sexy now. I liked it. My male brain liked it, but I was just like, but why? Because
Because it's a parody of like what they wear in those movies.
well, and then also the
is-
thing is, if things don't fit you, you fold it out so that, or you fold
Right,
it in so
but it was
tightens
still
up.
just like. What I remember,
I think
she
it's
like
a comment for
she
me.
bent
It was
down-
a comment.
I
on-
understand
yeah.
I understand its purpose. Like I know it was there
Oh.
for a reason.
Well, no,
like-
I just want to say it for the audience because
Oh yeah, go.
these movies, these types of movies, even with Cabin in the Woods, bother me so much because when have you fucking gone camping or to a cabin wearing the clothes that they wear in these types of movies?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
don't.
It's
Chloe
always-
has high heels.
Yeah, like I that's so I think that's what it was. But that trope in these types of movies has always bothered me. Always.
It's kind of like the
It's-
it's like the female characters in video games. Like their armor is not really armor.
Oh,
Yeah.
where
when
it's
it's
like,
like
When have you gone
negative one
camping in a
armor.
Midriff.
in like a midriff V-neck with like no.
But like there,
Good luck with the
Bracelets, don't worry.
mosquitoes.
the scene where she goes out to the porch and like picks up the finger bundle
Oh yeah.
that's on the porch. Like I watched the way that she moved, you could tell that she was worried of like, if I don't angle my butt away from the camera as much as humanly possible, half my butt is gonna like
Hang
pour
out.
out of these
Yeah.
pants because of how they are.
Dana
so like
actually
I
said
could
that we were watching. She's like, "Where is her butt? Where's her butt crack?"
I don't know. But yeah, that
They
like drove
sewed
me
the clothing
crazy.
onto her.
Yeah, that drove me nuts. But yes, that is honestly my biggest qualm because why would you ever do that? She wouldn't do that. You would do everything you can to like flip it up and at least keep it there.
I
And
think a lot of the people in this wouldn't do a lot of the things.
I know they wouldn't. But, ah!
That's
I'm just
one of the main
poking
things
at
that
it, I'm
bothers
sorry.
me.
Go ahead, Ollie.
Anyway.
It sounds like
But I
you're
think
ready to go.
that's the point because the fucking things they do in these real movies are absurd.
Absurd, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Kaylin kind of nailed it. The main thing, even as a subversion, those things are like still happening. But my two are, let's see. I felt like it dragged a little bit in the second, like towards the end, and not quite like an hour in. But maybe that was because I didn't quite understand like what the arc of the movie was going to be at that point, like where the narrative was going. I was still kind of waiting for a twist
Mhm.
to happen. And aside from that, that was pretty much it. Aside from the stuff I mentioned at the top of the show, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I'm really glad that you brought that up too, because like my family, like very no to horror. Like anyone getting hurt for basically any reason, like it's just a hard pass. Like no gore, none of that. Like just
Your
no.
family is starting to
the thing
sound
to
like
me is like it's not ever, and I've had to mention this because my brother's asked me about it often when we're talking about, like, for instance, the show The Boys. You know, that's another one of these things where like there's gore and stuff, and to me, it's never like I'm completely desensitized to it. That's the thing that I don't get across is that I have no actual like fears or problems with it. I don't like looking at it. I don't want it to be there. I don't think it needs to be there for many narrative purposes.
tell that to Tarantino.
And to right, exactly. To me, it kind of so because of that, there's never going to be a humor version of it that I will enjoy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, right?
Well,
Because
it's not even. It's not just a humor.
it's still happening, but now you're
humor that
laughing,
you'll
and
get
it's
out of
now
it.
it's slightly uncomfortable. Is
It's-
like kind of what ends up happening.
It's that you won't get any entertainment from gore at all, whether it's
Correct.
horror or excitement or humor
Right.
from it.
So to me, it has no effect. So to me, I'm like, well, you're not going to make me feel this more intensely with showing me gore. So why even have it? Is kind of like where I'm coming from. And I
Yeah.
know it's not and I know it's a completely me thing. So that's why it's like totally.
I don't
opinion.
think you're alone in that though.
I know,
That's
no,
why
yeah.
I was so glad that you brought it up.
Yeah, I
'Cause it's
wanted
like
to.
a lot
I
of
just
people
wanted
feel
to,
that way.
as we explore horror movies, I wanted to kind of like give you guys a peek behind the veil a little bit clearly, a little bit more clearly.
I
as to,
think-
like the challenges that I have, because it's interesting because like as we talk about this stuff, I'm discovering these things to myself about
Sure.
myself because I've never had to sit down and talk to somebody why I don't like horror movie. I just will
Sat
not
in
watch
your-
it or whatever. Or
You
be
just
quiet,
you
know?
just avoid it, and then you don't
Yeah.
have to like
I-
even think about it.
or I just be
think-
quiet in the corner until it was over, that kind of thing. And
I think there's definitely like a medium because there are things where like I find Tarantino gore like excessive, and I know he plays it up for like the primal brain, but then there's like Nolan films, right, where like there's no blood at all. Like someone gets shot on
Yeah.
the street, there's no blood, and you're like,
I
why?
think Dexter was perfect. And I think I realized I don't mind blood, but I mind gore.
When there's just like meat tossed everywhere.
but
Because to me, at that point, you're not doing it. It's lost any semblance of what you're showing me on screen is no longer important to the story. It stopped immediately becoming important to the story, and now you're just confetti. Now it's just purely confetti, and the
Interesting.
confetti is somebody
And,
getting
the
like
first
that's why
thing
I
that
was like
popped
I
into my
skipped the
head
wood
is-
chipper scene because I was like I know exactly what's going to happen. It's not interesting to me in the least to watch some guy dive headfirst into a wood chipper because that's what happened to the first two people. They killed themselves, and I was like, okay, well that's what this movie is. So I can skip this part that is particularly overly gory.
Gruesome.
Going to be,
Yeah.
I can foresee it. I've seen things like it, and so
Cool.
that was kind of one of the reasons. But anyways,
let's pull back to Josh or Corey.
Yeah, I have one qualm with this. And it's just something that didn't age well at all in 10 years. It's the ending with his hillbilly friend knocking a girl out and dragging her out of the bowling alley.
And not caring.
Yeah.
Yeah, not caring. Like that to such a wonderful movie, such an ending. I get the joke that it's like
It's gonna happen again.
caveman.
It's gonna have the
no,
same.
no, no. It's just like
take what
I
want
think
or
he
whatever.
told the story that, he told his friend the story like, oh, I knocked her out by mistake and da da da. And so he's like, oh, well, I'll just do that then because you got real lucky. And it's did not find that funny.
I think to your point, it's like the joke is the
Caveman.
no, it's there are some terrible hillbillies out there.
Sure.
But even at that point, it kind of like self-sacrifices the fact that Dale is a good person.
Mhm.
And that now that he has his quote unquote
He doesn't
selfish
care.
purpose
Yeah.
fulfilled, that he's like, well, now I don't have to worry about other bystanders. Because so far they've been like, oh my God, people are dying. And it's so sad. But then it's like when it happens to someone, it's like, all right, we'll forget it.
I thought the other one was. I thought at the end, and maybe I just wasn't paying close enough attention. I thought that she accidentally got knocked out, and it wasn't that he went over and.
No, I
knocked her
think
out.
he
No, he
punches
knocks her out.
Yeah.
Oh, he does.
He knocks her out.
Yeah.
Then that definitely changes how I feel about
Because
that.
Dale has unintentionally knocked her out multiple times, and that's like the joke.
Right.
But this guy is like, yeah, she got knocked out when
It's like
something
the
happened.
last
So, like-
miscommunication.
So
joke.
it's what I say about like why
He's like, all right, I'm going to follow Dale's steps.
Oh yeah, yep. Definitely feel different about that. I thought
Yeah.
it was something where she like tripped and fell, and I didn't see what was happening in the background because I was looking at Dale.
I think he,
and
like, punches
Allison.
no, because that's why they look back and say, should we help her? I was like, no.
I don't care.
Josh.
Ooh.
that's my only
Oh.
what Corey said. I mean, that's it. It goes against kind of the overarching message, so to speak,
Mhm.
of like Dale
Yeah.
and like what like the true caring and all that kind of stuff
Don't judge a
throughout
book by its cover.
throughout
Yeah.
the it was 89 minutes throughout so far 80 minutes of a film or whatever. Nowhere would that ever be a thing, and now this happens and you're like, that's like against character.
Mhm.
So that's it. I mean, that's literally like the qualms that have been brought up. It's more so from a standpoint of like, once I realized what it was, like 10 minutes into the film, I was like, got it. Cool. Locked in. I see what you're doing here. And so that kind of stuff didn't register as qualms to me. If it was an actual horror movie, I'd be like, yeah, these things, this thing, blah, 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 blah. But I understood what it was doing. So the only qualm I had was what Corey said. Copy paste.
Didn't have that
Oh.
qualm. Do now.
Mine are none of those things actually. Just because like that's the weird thing about comedy and horror is that like they get at quote unquote liberties of playing these really not like, and to me the thing that's why like everyone's like, Tom, what genre do you work in? I'm like, fucking drama, like where the world kind of makes sense, but things are just more heightened. But then it's like you don't get away with like these things. But then like when we're in comedy and horror, then it's like, well, you play into that world and that's what it is. But the things that got to me, which were like to me the more like I remember watching it and I was just like, look at all the characters that I'm not gonna have to care about. Like, and that's like the immediacy. And like you find that it's a little different in like true horror films where like there's one main character, maybe her best friend, and then there's a bunch of other people. It's like those are people that don't even have like as much screen time as these characters did. But then all the characters just like I just know my brain like this is meat fodder. They're going to just be blood sacks at the end of the day, and so I'm like that's fine. But then I was like a little mad that like they didn't die faster
Oh.
because I wasn't going to care about them, and I knew I wasn't. So I was like, just get on with it. Like we all know the antagonistic point is here, and we all know this is here.
I felt that too. Like
But then you wouldn't have that movie.
as soon as Chad and Allison had their talk, I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely evil and gonna murder at least someone or try. And then Allison's gonna be the good girl that gets saved because she's like
The final
sweet
girl.
and
Well, I mean-
the final girl.
Well, I'm gonna
Also, you should check out The Final Girls.
I'm gonna present like two conflicting qualms because the thing is that they don't exist without the other. But then
Right.
also like one would get or quenched if the other one didn't exist. Is the like I said, it's a double-edged sword of like it comes back to the horror genre at the very end as the film. And so to Corey's point of like you can't have the slow one by one kids getting killed because that's what happens in horror films. It's like the killers get closer and closer, people start dying, and then it comes down to the final person. And if they all just died at one moment, then what kind of movie is this? You know, like it's not a horror, then we're going to go straight into comedy. But they decide to go that way, so it becomes a horror film, right? So
That makes
even
sense.
in its sense of trying to break the formula or comment on the formula, they go within the formula, and there in that sense, it's like it feels like again, this is me, a guy who's never made a feature-length film, telling a guy who made his debut feature film like some things that I took away. So in no way like it's one of those like I praise this film because it premiered at Sundance and it got worldwide distribution. But like I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
If I can ask, you mentioned like following the formula, but then you also mentioned that they don't die slowly. So what is the formula then?
The formula is that characters one by one will die. Like if you
but
have
it
a group of
But the
kids,
pacing is like doesn't matter or isn't necessarily.
well,
No,
the thing is,
his qualms are conflicting. That's his whole point.
The thing is, like, typically, like, you would have it where who's going to be the final person, and typically when you have these B horror films, like, they're non-named actors, right? They're not big celebrity stars, so like, you don't know who's going to be the headliner, right? Like, Nightmare on Elm Street, Johnny Depp dies pretty early in, and then he was like the quote unquote bigger name
Star.
at the time.
He wanted
but then,
to though.
yeah, but at now you're like, if you see a horror film, it should have no named actors, unless because when you see
Like,
like,
then it
oh, if
doesn't
Chris
give away
Evans is in the
who-
horror film, he's not going to die first, unless he's going to die first for the subversion. Like those are the two things you can count on, and it's always going to be this actor who's like introducing this character or this actor. And so in the horror trope, it's like, yeah, everyone will start dying and you're trying to figure out like who's going to be the final person. And typically, if they haven't already developed or provided a POV character, it's someone that you've learned to like because they provide like a level-headedness and everything that they would have wanted to do isn't being done. And all the people who like are louder and more, aggressive are the ones who are dying head first into, battle.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of thing. So it's like that still
But
happened.
is it still an interesting space to work with when there's so much subversion and so much non-subversion where you can't even, like, you could spend an entire movie getting to know somebody and they could off them for the purposes of subverting
Tell that to Hitchcock.
your expect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
I guess that's the thing where ultimately, like, I don't.
What's the question?
Or I guess it's just like either way doesn't make, like, to me neither is an interesting mechanic. So I'm like, well, is it interesting to still wonder who's going to die or last when it's being subverted so much?
I mean, some
And
people
it's sort of like they could spend the entire movie getting to know somebody and then at the end they kill them to subvert it. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's
so like
they do that in movies. I mean, Fight Club,
Yeah.
all those kind of things.
I would again. I would have to ask.
So I guess
again,
I don't see it as a subversion mechanic is what I mean. Because it's like every other movie. It seems like it's sort of like a haphazard decision.
Again, it just depends on who does it and how it's done. Like, I mean, I don't mean to like kind of like feel like I'm pandering, but it's kind of like to something that you can speak to. It's like, why is talking to the fourth camera so acceptable in Deadpool? Like, because none of the MCU films do it, right? So it's like it's the convention that you see, the things that you enjoy, and so when you add like, salt to your caramel, you're like, oh shit, I didn't know I could have sweet and salty. Like when you see something that you enjoy, and if you enjoy horror films, and then seeing it being done in a way where someone understands the language and then riffs on it, then you're like, oh, this is kind of interesting. This is fun. They're taking control of it in their own way. So it's like, I don't.
And to the point of, and this is someone who enjoys horror, right? This isn't going to speak to you at all, Ollie. Part of the film, these types of films, is people do get a rush entertainment on how people die in these films. So the creative ways it's done, like,
or how
that's why the
people
Saw
are.
franchise exists.
Yeah,
that's the whole point of it. So it's not even just
that's like my number one thing.
Yeah, right. So
like, no, I'm out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like for people who do enjoy this, it's not just finding out who's going to last the longest. It's the journey to the end that people enjoy.
And it's like I was like, why do I enjoy like horror movies or like not horror movies, like specifically like zombie movies or vampire movies? And I'm like, I was like, oh, let's dig down, let's like chisel more away from this fossil.
So
and
it's the opposite of Zombieland.
I don't like
Zombieland
human suffering in that way.
Right.
I guess is what do you like if it's a
Zombieland
living person and they're suffering from being killed or dying? That's what I don't like. Is feel like the zombie's mindless and I can detach that in my head.
I would I would actually ask you then to watch the older zombie films then, because there's a lot more of that. It's that newer films don't relish in it.
Yeah,
because a lot of George A. Romero is like people getting pulled apart and you see it happen.
Yeah, and I guess I probably wouldn't enjoy that as much.
But like to your point, Ollie, though, that the way you feel about like the creative kills in Zombieland or Dawn of the Dead, how they do it, the kill of the week kind of thing, it's the same. It's the opposite for horror films.
In Zombieland, I didn't mind it. I was in it for that. But
no, that's my point. Is like killing the zombies in creative ways is part of the journey, whereas killing the kids who and like the thing with these horror movies, typically aside from Tucker and Dale, because we're getting an opposite perspective on it, is all of these kids or high schoolers, college kids, or whatever they are. The reason the final girl is always there is she's the one who hasn't done anything quote unquote wrong. Each of them has done something that's broken some sort of cardinal rule.
So she should
which is
be
why the rules of those films say that they have sinned and therefore they can't survive.
And even to this film, like with Caitlin's,
it's not in this one.
Well, it's not okay. I was like, I didn't pick up on their rules or whatever.
Even with this film, with Caitlin's secondary favorite character, Naomi, she tries to be the logic one, but the thing is, it is a telltale, right? Like, and that's the thing I like about horror films is like when smart people are subverted by the dumb people, and that look at America. So you see like Naomi being like, let's call the cops, and you see that one jackass who's just like, no, so it's like things can go awry even when you have smart people in play. It is sadly the
mob mentality,
the curse of history of might makes right. So even when you have the characters who should be making the decisions not being able to make decisions.
Yeah.
So, a la The Thing.
Rating.
Rating. So I'm going first then.
Yeah, you're going first, and then it's me and Josh, and then
This
Caitlin,
film, like I said at the very top, there are a lot of parody and satirical films that talk about the horror genre, and I think this one does it. I think the best. It does it in such a way where you pick it up at a very subconscious level and a conscious level at the same time. So this is to me a 4.5.
Wow.
nice.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
All
Alphabetical.
right. Josh or me? I'll go. Again, mention I'm a huge Alan
Two
Tudyk
dicks
fan. I am someone who loves horror films. A lot of the time, though, it is how much I just respect directors who can make things work on a shoestring budget and having to.
Oh my god!
I think horror breeds some of the greatest directors. You got Pony Smasher, you have Peter Jackson, you have
David Sandberg.
Yeah,
But he'll forever be
never
known
remember his name.
Pony Smasher.
Pony Smasher, man.
You have Sam Raimi.
James Wan. You
James
have
Wan.
it's they all come from horror, and I think that genre breeds a type of creativity in a director that no other genre does due to budgetary limits. So with that, especially knowing it was on a $5 million budget, which is like nothing, I gave this film a 4.7.
Ooh, shit. Who didn't? Wait, did anyone vote for me?
No.
Oh, ooh, y'all might have been. I don't know. I'll leave that with you.
Never say
Josh?
dumb.
I am going to give this a 4.8.
Whoa.
Oh, way up there.
Caitlin, way to go. You're right on the money.
Yeah, I
Caitlin?
love this movie, and having one qualm is
Yeah, the ending
tiny.
qualm is all I had. That's
Yeah.
why it's not a 4.9
But
or something.
we'll go over the numbers and then I'm going to say something.
Yeah.
I'll ask. one final
Wait, am I
question.
next?
Yeah.
Wait. Ollie has more votes than Caitlin?
We have the same. I'm just going down the list I have written here.
4.8.
Oh. Who
Only
messed up?
honestly, it was at a 4.9, but then Corey brought that up and I was like, I actually
0.1.
almost want to take more points off for it, but
Join me in the 4.7 range.
Dude.
You already said the number. It's too late.
Yep. Ollie.
late.
yeah.
Or down with the 3.7.
Ooh.
What'd I say? What do I say, guys?
I got that too.
I honestly wondered. The reason I didn't vote for Ali initially was because of the relationship between Dale and Allison.
Because he's Dale.
No,
Ollie just nodded to it.
I
Don't
actually
fucking-
immediately
don't.
related to Dale.
3.7 is actually higher than I thought you were going to give it.
And
To be honest with you.
Ducker and Tail.
Ducker and Tail.
Ducker and Tail.
I think that's a
Ducker
movie.
and Dale.
and Tail.
I think they stole the show. So that was, for me, that was the saving grace. I
Ollie, it
lost an
is. He's
entire point for the horror elements.
She
fair.
says,
It would have been a 4.7.
what's your name? And he goes, it's Tail. Ducker. Dale.
Dale,
My
yeah.
name's Dale.
Yeah.
but-
It would have been a 4.7, but it lost
So
a whole
Brock P, you were correct in voting for Ollie. That's it. That's the only person. who
Tom
voted for Ollie.
Man
P
after my own
was
heart.
also correct in voting for
So was
Ollie.
Corey P. All the P's.
All the
all the
P's. The
PPs.
P's. Yo, triple
So
P.
much
You know what I'm
PP.
saying?
power. Don't say
PPP.
Okay.
P power too
Well-
loudly.
All
But
right.
what I was gonna say was, man, I implore everyone, all of our listeners, to watch this during this
Yeah, I
Halloween
still
season.
recommend
It's-
it.
It's so.
I would
fun.
recommend, if you like this, check out The Final Girls, because that's also same kind of.
Bitch, we watched
Thing.
that together.
I know.
No,
I know it.
it's a very sweet movie, and as someone who got scared of Shaun of the Dead, this didn't scare me.
I would
Gave
one
me
day
a fright maybe once or twice, but
one day I would like to do a top down of films that are the horror satire,
Yeah.
top 5.
oh lord,
I've seen Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz.
oh Hot Fuzz. So
Hot
good.
Fuzz
I'll leave those
horror-
for
horror.
a different episode.
Have you seen World's End?
No, not yet.
I was
I
gonna say
haven't
that's the
either.
trilogy.
Is it?
The Coronado trilogy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
We'll see.
Josh,
Anyways,
take us
thank you
out.
everyone for listening. What did you guys think of Dale and Tucker?
Shout out to the night.
Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Thank you, Boom, for suggesting it.
This was a great movie. Boom. Thank you.
ahead, Josh.
Yeah, everybody at home, thank you
That's
so much for listening. We appreciate you all. If you are new to Nerd On, welcome. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening. If you are on YouTube, thanks for watching. All of the linky links are on our website, nerdon.tv. That's it's a nice hub that you can find all of the links to everything that we do. We have multiple podcasts that Nerdon as a whole does. We have Twitch. We have 2 YouTube channels, so check those out. Rate and review us wherever you listen, whether it's Apple, iHeart, Spotify, wherever you are. Rate and review us. Share us with your friends, your family.
Caitlin.
Get it out there.
Please.
I love reading it.
Yes, of course. So, for those
Wait, what
of
is
you
this?
that
What
don't
is
know, getting a review is like finding out that pumpkin spice lattes are back. Like, it's that kind of a delightful feeling of knowing that something amazing is happening.
And it
So
makes
that's
us
what. And it makes
want-
us what?
It makes us want to say, please.
No.
She
Tom
hates
ruined
that.
it. Tom ruined it, but
I love it.
And as I mentioned at the top, do consider joining the Nerd On Nation. It does help us to grow and be the best show that we can be. The Nerd On Nation is a fantastic group of people, and I do hope that you consider joining. They're just a cool bunch of people. So check that out,
Y'all are
nerdon.tv
great.
/Patreon. Check out that Discord. It's growing
check it out.
by week.
Happen.
But every week there's few members. We're over 80. We're almost getting to that triple
It's
digit.
crazy.
That's pretty cool.
I know.
It's growing.
It's really neat
That nation is growing,
we're talking
baby.
about so many, like, the topics are everywhere. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Watch out, Rajneeshis. We're coming for you.
But yeah, that has been it. Thank you so much. You know the drill. As always, Nerd on.
Ending broadcast.